I'm ready. The Voice 17104.com. This is Zanetta Wingfield, and you're listening to The Voice 17104.com. The Voice 17104.com.
Hello and welcome. I'd like to invite you to just enjoy the experience that we're about to encounter. I'd like to introduce to you a man of a very humble beginning, a man that was able to overcome the horrific misclassification of special education. A caring man, a man that will encourage you because he's been there and done it. And I'd like to encourage you to keep an open mind and be empowered to change your life. I'd like to present to you a man of men, Richard Utley. Richard.
I love this. You're the music man. Good evening, and welcome to another Did You Know? Well, we're going to have a lively program this evening. I got some young entrepreneurs on that have vision, and we're going to be talking to them in a few minutes. But the first thing that I'm going to talk about is that I've always told you that we need to be involved. We need to be involved. So therefore, those of you who always criticize government, the school districts and things like that, it's time for you to decide that you're going to run for office. You see, we talk the talk, but we got to do the walk as well. So I'm encouraging all of you to think about running for a public office, and I'm going to give you a couple weeks to think about it, because petitions will probably start to be circulated in probably about January, because you do realize coming up in 2024 is probably going to be one of the most important elections that we have. And so therefore, I think it's very important that we stay on top. So I got a new saying that I'm going to keep saying. It's called stay informed and engaged. You understand that? I want you to stay informed of what's going on, but I want you to be engaged too. So if you see problems, you see situations, then you got to speak up about it. All right? The other issue I'm going to bring up, I use the word red flags. And what is red flags? Red flags mean you need to watch what's going on around you. And you need to speak up, and don't wait till the horse gets out the barn and up the road like we tendency to do. You know, election reform is going to be very important. And we need to stay on top of election reform, because you know it's about suppressing the black vote. And we got to make sure that that don't happen. All the hurdles they put up, we got to be sophisticated. We got to be prepared to jump over that hurdle. So that's important. As you know, I always call this program Did You Know? And I like to give you things to think about. And the other thing I'm going to give you something to think about is, what does law and order mean? Who is law and order for? And the reason I bring that up, you notice we've always had questions about law and order. From way, way back, we've always had concerns about law and order. And now all it seems now that everybody wants to investigate the FBI. Everybody wants to investigate this one, when we always knew there was something wrong with the system. And so we're going to keep our eye on the system, because the system has not been fair to us. But now all of a sudden, and it don't go your way, now the system is not fair to you. So all the things that we've been taught or we've been preached in history, now all of a sudden, nobody don't want to know what history is going on. So my thing is, I want you to do your own research. I want you to stay on top of what's going on. So if you got a problem with the school district, then you go to the school district. You go to school board meetings. Stop just talk and not do anything. Well, if you don't like people that's doing, you representing you, whether they're the judges, whether they're the mayors, whether they're city council, whatever, then vote them out. The key is going to be we have to look out for our own vested interests, no matter what it is. And those of you who completely believe that in our community that somebody is going to ride through and make everything right for us, that is not going to happen. You know, I try to bring up things that I think is very important to us. So what is going to be my quote today? My quote going to be, all of us must recognize that education and innovation will be the currency of the 21st century. And that's from Barack Obama. So I think that's very important that we talk about that. And before I get ready to go into my program, I always talk about Black history. So I'm going to give you some names. And I want you to think about them. I want you to do your own research. See, our problem is somebody tell us something, we don't know if it's true or not, then we run around and we tell everybody something that we really don't know. So as I told you, that's why this program is called Did You Know? So I'm going to give you 4 names tonight for you to do your own research. James Weldon Johnson. Now, who is he? Think about who he is. Do your research. I want you to do your research on James Meredith. I want you to do your research on Selma Burke. And I want you to do your research on Maggie Leon Walker, as they call Madam Walker. Do your research. Find out who they are. We don't need anybody to not tell us who our history is if we don't do our history for ourselves. So I think it's very important. So tonight I have the fortune. I got these young men on my program tonight, and we're going to talk about their vision. We're going to talk about who they are. We're going to talk about where they want to go and where they're trying to go. I have Paris Williams on. You know, he's a creative designer. And we're going to talk to him first. And the first thing I'm going to ask him, and those of you who may not remember, I had him on a long time ago. But I'm going to ask him, he's doing so much, I brought him back on because he's moving and he's moving up. And I felt that I wanted to highlight him since he's become a mover and shaker in this community in terms of vision, dreams, and hopes. Because he has dreams and hopes, and so do his partner and his posse. So tonight I want him to reinforce the things that I think is very important. Because that's what this show is about. This show is about bringing people on to tell their journey, to tell their vision. Hopefully there's somebody else down there will hear what they have to say, and you might be the next one. So Paris Williams, I got you on here, my brother.
How you doing?
And you know, first thing I want you to do is give everybody your vision and your journey.
Okay. Again, my name is Paris Raphael Williams. I'm the owner designer of London and also owner of House of London, located at 24 North 4th Street, downtown Harrisburg, PA. And it's honored to be here today. I just want to say that. Thank you for having me. And it's blessed to be here. Like you said, you want to get started with the journey.
Yes.
Well, I am a men's fashion designer. I've been at it for about 10 years now, working very hard and diligently through this craft. I was also able to meet my wife, and now she owns a store on 109 North 2nd Street, and she hand makes the women's clothing and does the women's alterations. So we're both doing very well. But when you say, where did I start from? I'm 35 now. This dream hit me, like you said, the size of a mustard seed back when I was 24. I'll never forget, I was working for PennDOT, and this Caucasian lady comes out one day, and she's like, "What's wrong with your face? What's going on?" And she's like, "You just look so sad." I said, I can't work here for the next 30 years of my life and then retire. I would be depressed every day. I was like, but I don't know what I want to do or how to find my passion in life. And she said, I'll never forget, she said, find something you could do every day, whether or not you were paid for it. And art was my passion. I actually started out drawing. I drew portraits in high school, and I just made a few simple t-shirts. And so clothing was my initial thought, but it was funny, back then I was actually a comedian and I was making it pretty well. I got offered a pilot from TBS. I was opening up for Lonnie Love and other artists. My passion wasn't in it. And I didn't like paying my dues, being in a bar every night. I didn't like it. So I literally woke up one morning after God placed it on me. Literally, I'm not even lying. I went to my friend's house at 7 a.m. and I told him, I was like, God gave me a vision. I'm gonna be a designer in a few years and it's gonna work. And he never left the house. It was too early. So I literally went to Joann's. I bought one of the most tiniest machines because I never understood a sewing machine. And then I didn't even know of patterns and things of that nature. So I went to the thrift store and I found a button up and I took that thing apart piece by piece and then made my own and put it back together. When that happened, it wasn't great, but I'm like, all right, this is something that if I get started working on, it will definitely work out for me. And so I started to pursue my goal, and by no means has this been easy. So after that, I was still working. I started working for a construction company, and I was trying to figure out a way to get into clothing, and I just couldn't figure out a way, anybody to teach me, show me the ropes or anything. And I'll never forget, I was working for this construction company, and they were just working the mess out of me, and I didn't know what to do. And that day, I laid my head on the back of the seat because I was in the back seat on the way home. And I prayed to God. I said, God, if you take me away from this moment, I'll never come back. I promise. And this is no lie. As soon as I opened my eyes, this is back when people used to get a lot of jobs off of Craigslist. I seen this ad and it said, need someone to make pieces, blah, blah, blah. And it was in Harrisburg. So I'm like, man, I've never seen this place. So the next day I set up an interview and I go into this nice building. It's in off of Locust Lane. And it happened to be Robert Stadnicki. He runs this brand called It's Okay to Have Too Much Fun. But he was also the Pennsylvania art director for a few years. He's the one that helped set up Capona and all that stuff and ran it and all the other stuff that happened on the riverfront. And by the grace of God, that man hired me that day. And he started showing me stuff. And I knew a little bit, so I started working on stuff. And he trusted me so much that day that he hired me. And then he left out of town for 3 weeks, like the next week. And I had to make these oven mitts and these women kimono jackets. I never told him I didn't know how to use a serger machine. He assumed I did. And so he taught me how to use it once and I seen it, but then it came loose and I couldn't figure it out. So instead of, my mom always told me, fake it till you make it, bluff your way in. So I picked up the machine and I went to the repair shop off of Union Deposit. And those guys are gracious enough to show me the machine, how to maintenance it, work it, fix it. By the time he got back 2 weeks later, I was on.
Well, I guess you have to have vision, and I'm glad that you realize that, working every day to something that you don't want to do can be a little depressing. There's no question about that. And so after you decided that you were going to learn how to design clothes in terms of you're basically self-taught.
Yes.
So, and being self-taught is a thing that I'm glad that you tell my audience that you're self-taught, because a lot of times people don't realize it's not necessarily always formal education, but if you have the stick-to-itiveness to it in working and developing to becoming a tailor. You design, you custom tailoring, you say you're creating your own brand. And so since you're creating your own brand, which I have a lot of questions to ask you, and I'm going to ask you one other thing, and then after I ask you that, I'm going to have your buddy to come on here.
Most definitely.
And now, of course, you have this fancy name for your clothing line.
Yes, I do.
Now, tell me how you came up with that. Now, I do know that it's French.
Yes.
So now to explain to my audience how you came up with that, brother from around here, so that tells me you came up with something.
Oh, most definitely. And also hit your point on being self-taught. Most definitely doing it. By the time I was 24, I knew I was kind of too late for college. Not too late, but I had a baby and everything else. So I knew I had to work in my dream while still learning in the same way. But in reference to my name, the name of my company is called Lundun, L-U-N-D-U-N.
Yes, we have it up on the thing there.
Most definitely. And a few years ago when I started making pieces, I consider my work art. So I'm still not into mass production. Like everything I make, I autograph and I sign it like a one piece of art. And I was going to name my company One of One or One and Only. But one day I was sitting at my computer and I just went to Google and started typing in One of One in different languages, German, Russian. And French happened to be Loon Doon. It's really Loon Doon, and I like it the most. And my name is Paris, so I use the French meaning of one of London clothing.
Okay, we had it up on the screen. Can we bring it back up on the screen again so so we can see some of your a little bit of your creativity?
Oh, most definitely. That's my work from a few years ago.
That's that. We have so there you go.
Now that's just one of the sweatshirts I made.
Right, but you have some other stuff on here. We have some of
Almost
your other.
definitely.
There, you look at your jacket.
Oh, that was a run I had at my old store when I was located off of
That's
6th
fine.
Street. Oh, beautiful jacket made from quilted fabric. I loved it.
See, we want people to see your vision, what you're doing.
Oh, me in front of my sewing machine with the serious
There
face.
you go.
Oh,
Now,
look at that.
as we continue to talk about you and some of the things that you're doing, one of the things I do like about you, you're bringing some of your friends along.
Most definitely.
And I think sometimes that's important. You know, we can get successful and we get confused. We got to reach back and we got to pull people back up, because if somebody gave me a break, then I owe it my obligation to give somebody else a break. I would not be here today, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody didn't look out for me, if somebody didn't think a lot of me. And so therefore, I want you to talk about your roadie right beside you.
Most definitely. This is my homie. His name is Jay Mantis. He really helps me run the store, manage the store. He's also a designer and a graphic designer. So not only has he been assisting in really running the store for me, this morning, little does he know, I wouldn't have got up this morning if this man didn't send me a message trying to give me a positive affirmation. Definitely.
Yeah,
Sit
you
up so
think-
they can see your face, play. Take that hood off. They
You
gotta
gotta
see
move
the
up,
face,
man.
He don't like showing his face. But this is Jay Mantis. He runs his own brand. He runs a couture brand. Then he runs Mantis and helps me run the store. He helps develop artists, just everything. And like you said, it's good to have somebody with you, and iron sharpens iron.
Well, tell us who you are. Tell us what you're about. Don't be shy.
I'm here, man. I really don't speak a lot, though.
That's all right. We'll say
Never
something.
speaks.
As you said, my name is Jay Mantis. Everybody call me Mantis or Jay, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Almost everywhere around here. You say that.
So, what is your vision? What's your vision? What do you want your impact to be?
I want to go global.
You want to go global, and you're working at it.
Yes, sir.
So, as you use the word global, tell us what some of the creativity that you're working on.
What I'm working on,
Hmm?
honestly, I'm working on my collection. My collection is going to come out next year, 2024. And then this spring and summer collection I got going on right now.
Okay, so when you say your collection, so you're gonna do jackets, you're gonna do shirts, you're gonna do what?
I'll be doing well. Actually, no, I'm actually doing jackets right now, but it's my face.
Oh, yeah, see your face a
I
little more.
apologize. But what I will be socks, hats, shirts, shorts, hoodies, sweatpants, and whatnot. That's what I'll be doing. I have a website. I had to make a new website actually, which is crazy. My first website was off of Shopify, and I had changed my number, so I had to make a whole new website.
So is your website up now?
It's not live.
It's not live yet.
But I can I can show you. It's nice. It's pretty nice.
Okay,
website.
well, when you get your website up and your stuff, then we have to let people know who you are. You see, my attitude is we have to support one another, but we got to know who you are. We got to know where you are. Here's to these young guys here, these young men, and here's what they're about. But yet all the time on TV, all we see is nothing but negative, negative, negative. And that's why it makes me feel good to have young people like you on with vision and hope and things of that nature. I'm as I'm sitting here talking to both of y'all, I guess fortunate, when I was growing up, my father was a tailor. My father was a tailor. He learned the business going to like a trade school, and he kind of figured it out. And I remember that when my father would do patterns, he used paper bags because he couldn't afford to buy patterns, but he would take a paper bag and he would draw it all out. So I am somewhat, he was a visionary. He was a person that wanted to own his own business. He's a person that believed in vision in terms of what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. So seeing people like you and the things that you guys are trying to do is important for my audience to see it so that they can feel that they want to do it. So, all right, so you want to go global, and so you're both working together hand in hand.
I got a bigger plan. It's going global. You can say that. Yeah, I have about, a lot of people think I live day to day. They don't know I live 5 to 10 years ahead of my day, in my head every day. I'm 35 right now. It started when I was 24. By 26, I had a vision. And I know where I'm going to be by the time I'm 45. So right now, I'm developing my brand. I'm assisting developing other brands, especially minority-owned brands. Whether you sell clothing, socks, incense, I don't care if you sell toenails, we're going to sell the best. But one of my biggest goals that I am going to accomplish, and I got about 10 years to do so, one of the richest people in the world, his name was Bernard, but he owns a company called LMVH. I think it's Louis, Hennessy, Moet, all those stuff. But under that house, it's a house. And nobody knows, during COVID, him and Elon Musk were jockeying for the richest man in the world. And under that house, they house Prada, Gucci, Burberry, all the high-end drinks, all the high-end health foods, and everything else. My goal is to eventually make London a house, the same way LMVH is. Under me, I'm going to house all of the best quality minority lifestyle brands. I mean, from purses to lotions to soaps to clothing, we are going to be a powerhouse.
And that's important. But as you say that, we got to support you, but we need the overall community to support you.
Almost definitely. Sometimes
people get confused. We need everybody to support you. Tell me this here. All right, so you got this sewing machine, and so you sat there and you went to, I guess what I understand, you went and you bought something and you put it together. Is that how you basically learned how to sew?
That's exactly how I got started. I didn't have any schooling, so sometimes you go through, I'm not going to call them points of ignorance, but you go the long route because you don't have tutelage. So I had to learn how to take apart a button up, but part of me believes that's one of my best attributes by the way I learned. I really, really learned. I paid attention to every stitch. I counted the stitches and I took the stitches apart. And then after I bluffed my way into a job working with the art director, I started doing so well after a few months that he started taking me places. And that's how I realized I need a team. I'll never forget, I was sitting in Fort Lauderdale in one of the top Hiltons you've ever seen in your life. They had a jungle in the middle of the hotel. It was crazy. And I'm excited calling people back at home. But the most thing I realized is I'm by myself in this situation. And I enjoyed it, but you enjoy things better when you have somebody to tap or talk to or say, look at this. And that's when I realized you can have it all, but if you don't have someone to share it with, whether a spouse or a friend or a group of people believing in your vision, you will be at that top, but it's lonely at the top, as they say. And so that's how I ended up meeting my wife. I was working so well for him that she didn't even like me when she met me. They gave me such a nice house. They used to shoot videos and commercials in there. So a company had paid for me to shoot a commercial. And she was one of the people in the commercial. And the day she came in, I tried to talk to her. She did not like me at all. And so he said I could hire somebody. So I was like, I'll give you a job just to keep her around me. But she already had an interest in sewing. And I just showed her a broader vision. And literally, we've been married 7 years now, together for about 9. And she holds down the women's aspect.
Right. I know she was supposed to come here, but she was not feeling good. So let's talk about her real quick, because she has her own place at 109 North 2nd Street.
Correct.
Right beside Dunkin' Donuts.
Correct.
And I know she's a dry cleaner. She does that.
Yep.
I know that she creates gowns and things of that.
Yep.
If somebody wants a special kind of outfit, they can go to her, right?
That's exactly what she
does. So you would say she's the female designer and you're the male designer?
Most definitely. She handles all of those aspects. She does wedding gowns. Her biggest season, which is actually getting started right now, is prom. They got to kind of come right now to be prepared for June. So she's taking on a bunch of orders, getting ready for prom. Definitely at the location on 109 North 2nd Street. We do dry cleaning. I handle most of the alterations there. definitely a team effort, but she does her thing. She does her thing. Those wedding, like I like designing for men because men, we're just boxes, small, medium, large, extra large. Women have bust, hips, and everything else. And when you have to compensate it into an outfit, and sometimes they get a little picky, she has that one, but she does wonderful. She has a passion for it. I think that keeps us closer. You know, I'm actually running a business together with my wife, and we're pursuing a goal together. Yeah, I love it.
So you're saying that you really didn't have no software. You created the bulk of this fashion or fashion design through your own working through it.
Oh, most definitely. Like Virgil said, embrace your mistakes. So at first I thought I wasn't doing it like everybody, but what's making me different is not doing it like everybody. And yeah, it's just working out very well, sticking in my lane. I learned the way I learned. I still have professional tutelage now over the past few years, but I get to implement it with what I was taught in the way I create. And it just works. I love it.
So what made you feel that you had the creativity to do what you're doing?
I was an artist. Like in school, the people used to literally pay me. I didn't draw cartoons. I drew actually self-portraits of people, and they used to pay me in school. And like the teachers used to get on me, and I'll never forget R.I.P. Mr. Early. He told me straight to my face. He was like, "I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to do something amazing." And when you're that young, you're looking for guidance. I'm like, "Mr. Early, what am I going to do?" He's like, "I don't know, but you're going to do something."
And I think that's important to get encouragement. You know, I think it's important to encourage young people with vision, dreams, and hope. And you know, your partner over there said he gonna go global, so he's thinking global. So he realizes that he's thinking global, but at the same time of saying that, or do you ever get concerned or get afraid that somebody is going to try to rain on your parade?
Can't.
They can't rain.
It's
on
impossible. I'm not gonna say impossible, but it's very hard to rain on my parade when I control the rain. Like I control my hands. I can make anything I want. I can make something different every day. You can try to keep up or jack me or rain over me, but I'm so free in what I can create. You can't rain over a parade that keeps moving. And then I had situations where designs were taken at times, but you got to learn how to let that go and just keep moving forward. The little stuff will fall off. When a rocket ship takes off, there's no rear view mirrors, and all the little stuff on the outside burns off. And that's what I consider happening with people trying to, like you said, do things or rain on my parade. I keep God first. And as long as my family's happy and my wife is happy and I wake up personally happy, nothing can really rain on my parade.
And I think that's important because some people don't realize it's all connected. It's all connected to life. Your vision, how you're working at it, how you continue to work on your craft. I mean, it's no more different than somebody that's a coach, a football coach. They work on their craft. Artists work on their craft. Everybody works on their craft that they think that's very important to them. And you know, I find that I run into so many people, and I say to them, "What possessed you to do what you want to do? Where'd you see it at?" You know, I know people that knew they wanted to play football from a very long time ago, and they end up being a football, going to school, and now they're a coach.
Mm-hmm.
They're a coach of a football team, and it's going to do well. And they take their work ethic that they have, and they into to their team and to their children as well, and they ended up being very successful.
I got that from my parents.
You got that from people don't realize success takes a lot of work. Would you agree with that?
Understatement.
I mean,
understatement.
Now, why you say that's an understatement?
Because, okay, for instance, there's a lot of people that are just meeting me today. There's some people that just met me last week, and they walk up on me, and first of all, they think you have way more than you have most of the time. And then secondly, they're like, oh man, this is easy. I want to get started. Sir, you have no clue what the last 10 years has been like. And honestly, I want to kind of save you and usher you through so you don't have to go through the certain hurt and the deadfalls I went through in this 10-year journey. Yeah, it took me 10 years to be an overnight. I'm not even an overnight success yet. I'm not. It's coming. But yeah, it's just weird. Like people don't know the struggle, but I realize it's like right now it's meant to explain the struggle for people that want to listen. Everybody else, they're not meant to know your struggle. You meant to shine, and I'm meant to inspire, and that's what you got to do. I don't want to tell everybody all the hard stuff. You'll find out along the way. My job is to get you started. Once you get rolling, you'll figure it out. But yeah, 10 years and like mental health is a big player. And I'll just be completely honest with you because I love sharing what I go through. Like even yesterday, I went through a very tough mental moment. I got a baby on the way. I got 2 boys. We're running 2 stores. We're trying to move. We're growing new clients. So I was just in Penn Live, and then we were in the newspaper, and then I just dropped a commercial. While all that is going on, I'm still going. Things are going on behind the scenes as far as management, other things. And yesterday, as a business owner, I had such a mental breakdown. I went to I think it's called Crisis Intervention downtown. And I went down there and I spoke with somebody and they got me signed up with the therapist. And then you think that that's not normal, but then go research most of the billionaires. And I watched a documentary on Oprah. They call it a tune-up. You know, when you're trying to chase something that nobody chases, or you might feel crazy at times. You might feel like, which I did yesterday, you might feel like you've been barking up the wrong tree sometimes, and you just need a little tune-up and it'll keep you going. I keep God close and I keep therapists on call.
Well, I think that's very important because I'm amazed because for whatever reason, we don't like to talk about mental health. And mental health is a very, very important thing. And I think as the programs come, I'm going to have some people talk about mental health because we've always, especially the minority community, we have always act like mental health didn't exist. No, I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Where we had relatives that probably needed some therapy, but we probably locked them in a room or just said they was crazy
Or beat it out of them.
well, they could be those things. Right. I'm agreeing with you, but I'm glad that you are letting people know that there's a downside. See, people always see the upside.
Yeah.
They don't know when you can't sleep, or they don't know that your creativity is at a pause, and so it's up for you to come up with other kinds of ways.
And take care of your family. Like, I don't want to just say I did mental health for my journey. Again, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a son. And Black men, we have undiscussed anger, and it comes out in different ways. And brothers, you need to get that stuff checked because I want to be a better artist and businessman. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father to my Black boys and a better son to my family. And so all that is encompassed under getting my mental health in order.
That's interesting. I'm glad that you brought up mental health. And especially for young people, don't usually talk about mental health.
You have to. That's why I'm doing it. I'll open my skeletons in my closet so it can help the next man. Waking up angry. Mine started a few months ago, to be honest with you. Like, I've been going through the stress. I just got back from Cali a few weeks ago. Things have been up and down. But the one thing that was a trigger for me that made me start to notice something's not okay is every day when you wake up, you're supposed to wake up, yawn, and stretch up refreshed. Man, before I even got my head off my pillow, I'll open up my eyes and all the irrational thoughts and everything else will flood into my body before I can even get up out of bed in the morning. So for the last few months, I had been waking up in a panic, literally, and like thinking about all that's going on, all I have to fix and all that. That's not a normal way to wake up. And then when you're agitated, it'll fall on, as the head of the household, it'll fall on the wife because she sees me stressed and she's not going to say it, but that makes her more stressed. And then my kids are old enough to realize dad is agitated. And when dad agitated, he does this. No, I need to learn him how to properly treat a woman, properly solve or try to resolve your emotions. And even if I am a little discouraged, I still need to teach them how to still operate, you know? Can't operate out of emotion or anger because these kids remember that. So
I think that's important when you talk about, because that's why we have sometimes gun violence. We don't understand sometimes. We react not realizing that it affects not only them, but it affects their family, it affects the other family, it affects the cousins. But we don't think about it because of that reaction moment, because and people don't understand that.
It's more hurt. I think a lot of us men describe, we only know one emotion, 2, happiness and anger. We don't even know in between. But I had to learn there's a wide range of emotions, and as a black man, I'm allowed to address that and feel this way. And a lot of this stuff I used to lash out and be mean over, I'm actually hurt almost to tears. And I need to learn how to differentiate that feeling and not take it as anger. This is hurt, and this is what it is. Can we solve it in a peaceful resolution? Can we talk about it? Can we pray on it? And yeah, I'm just learning how to differentiate the emotions and explain to my son too. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're excited. Like, these are all emotions. And like I said, I only knew happy and angry prior to.
So let me ask you this. So I noticed that, and I've did some reading, so I know that you're trying to become a very, very well-known designer. And being a designer, tell me about that route a little bit, because apparently you've been going to California. You've been going to California, so you've been trying to connect.
Oh man, I've been everywhere. Atlanta. COVID really changed my world. Before COVID, because I've been doing this for the last 10 years, I used to do shows in Atlanta. I competed on Project Runway. I came like 8th out of 1,500 for the final spot to get on the show. But I lost out. I'll never forget, I was crying in New York, and my stepdad is from New York. He's like, "Are you crying outside of Penn Station?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Wipe your face before you get robbed." I was in there booing my face off. But the journey has just been the best thing I could say is try anything. You know, I've been to shows that didn't garnish me $1. But I met people. The biggest one I can think of, because over the years I've done a lot of fashion shows on the rooftops everywhere. The biggest one I can think of is when COVID had just started and the whole world had shut down. And God spoke to me. I'll never forget, it was a Tuesday. And I'm talking to God about my journey. I said, "God, what should I do next?" And I swear God said, "Go ahead. I've equipped you with the tools you have. Go do it." And I'm like, "God, you're telling me to test it?" God said, "It clear as day. I've equipped you with the tools. Go." And I'm literally sitting in my house with two of my friends. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to Atlanta on Thursday." They said, "You didn't talk to anybody." I said, "I know, but I spoke to God, and I'm going to Atlanta in 2 days." And I'll never forget, because it was late. And my friend Chris gets up, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to spend time with my family." He said, "I'm hopping in that car with you. You have that look in your eye." And I'm like, he's like, "But you didn't talk to nobody." So Thursday comes around, they get in the car, and they're like, "Yo, you didn't call anybody in there." I said, "I know, God told me to go there. He will tell me what to do next." So I went to Atlanta. I went to a few places. I actually met one of my mentors. His name is T from Exclusive Game. And I've been waiting years to meet this man. I lay out all my stuff in front of him. He's like, "Yo, I don't like half of it. I only like the piece you're wearing and the one." And he picks it up. And I was kind of a little devastated from that. But the funniest thing happened, because we're in his store. And so he's like, "I don't know if the rest of this is going to sell." But while he says that, customers walk in while I'm showing them stuff. And they're like, "How much is that? How much is that? How much is that?" And they're pointing at my stuff. And so he looked a little confused. And so that was like after the third day, but nothing really came of it. So I was a little disturbed, and I was upset. And then I was trying to meet with this rapper. His name was Fujiano. And I had been messaging him the whole week I was there, because I talked to him when I was at home, and he didn't answer the phone the whole time I was in Atlanta. And I'm wasting time and money that I could have spent on my family. And I was devastated. So I just went back to my hotel. I went to sleep. I'll never forget. I woke up an hour later. This man sent me his address, and my friend Chance, and I said, "Should I call him?" He said, "Fool, get in the car. Let's go." So we went to a nice big old gated community with a pool, and Fujiano had paid me to make clothes and bought everything I had. On the way back home from Atlanta, I get a call from T from Exclusive Game. He offers me a pop-up in his store. Mind you, it's one of the most exclusive stores in Atlanta. I get all the money I can. I come back 2 weeks later with all this stuff I made. I spent all my money. The morning of the pop-up, I only had $16 in my pocket. I had no clue how I was going to make it home. I had no clue what was going to happen. I was going to send out SOS. So for the first 2 hours, I paid for this pop-up. I paid almost $1,500 for it. Nobody's touching my clothes. I started breaking down. I go call my mom. I said, "Mom, I spent all this money here. Nothing is going on. I'm starting to break down. My clothes aren't selling." She said, "Son, you always get scared in the middle, which is the gray area." She said, "God bless you when you start, and he always blesses you when you finish." She said, "What did I teach you? To hold it together in the gray area. God is coming." So literally, I hang on my mom, wipe my tears. I didn't even ask her for a dime. And this literally happened. I have to say this. This literally happened the way I'm saying it. I walk back in. I sit down on a bench. I literally take a picture, and I was like, I'm going to post something to make it look like it's positive, even though it's not positive. I said, "I trust you, God." I'm literally looking down at my phone. The manager I then had taps my leg, and I look over at her mouth, and I'm like, "Why is your mouth?" And I look to my left. The the #1 artist on Def Jam at the time, Benny the Butcher, was standing in front of me holding my jacket. He was the first person to touch my clothes that day. And mind you, he's the #1 rapper, like #1 up and coming rapper at the time. And he's like, this is so hot. Where'd you get this from? And I couldn't even speak. The manager that was there, she had to speak for me because I'm sitting there like, She's like, he listened to your music every day. He actually listened to it this morning. You're one of his favorite rappers. He hand makes everything. And that day, I'll let you know, I made about $6K selling the rest of my stuff. It seemed like he broke open the floodgates. After he touched it, everything else I had sold. He bought 2 jackets from me. I clean up my shop. I go home. 2 weeks later, I get a call. He wore my jacket to his album release party for Meet the Plug 2. It was crazy. And then 2 weeks later, I end up in Lancaster at his concert, and I walk into VIP because they let me in where he's at because I gave the manager a jacket. And as soon as I walk in, he goes, this brother's persistent. This is the guy I was telling you about. Wait, you've been talking about me to other people? And that's right now we do a piece by piece deal where I make custom pieces for Benny the Butcher. It was just amazing. Like, and that was just the story where, and that's just one of my stories where I went and took a risk. I met 50 Cent 2 years ago at NBA All-Star Weekend. And I bluffed my way into there. Like, his security guard was going to mess me up. But I just knew that I was like, listen, I handmade this garment. I just want to give it to 50. And as soon as I said that, like, his whole mood changed. He was so angry, wouldn't let me. But once I said I handmade it, he literally stepped back like a door, and 50 Cent is standing right there in front of me. And I actually just got a call a week and a half ago from his manager, and they're ready to do business. So that's just little stories of me meeting artists. But I think my most success comes from the people I reach around here. Meeting you. You and I are designing a World War II bomber jacket specifically for the minority brothers of the service. Like, I love this and I love it. And the more people get to know, the more people come through the door, the more people we reach out to, the bigger the team gets. I couldn't ask for anything else right now.
So you have hope, vision, and you also have belief. So in your belief, this is what really drives you. Would you say that?
Oh, most definitely. Faith is a major player. Y'all don't know how many times I've prayed. I prayed more times than I've breathed. You pray all the time, and God comes through. And it's not when you want, it's when you need it. And I can't explain it because sometimes I thought I needed something, and I'm like, God, why? And then the next day, something comes around the corner. I'm like, you knew what I needed. If you would have gave me what I asked for, it wouldn't have worked.
Now, most people know that artists they're very creative and you think out of the box. Most people think that whether you're drawing or whether you're singing or whether you're painting. I know that you have a vision, and I know that a lot of it you're learning on your own. So do you do research? Do you think in your mind what you want to do, and then you talk to somebody you kind of notice in the business and you kind of float it? Or
most definitely, I reach out to all the people that can kind of assist me and try to figure out a way. Something just happened this morning. A guy gets off the Amtrak, comes to my store. He pays me and purchases a jacket that he wanted a few months ago. And while we're just talking and passing before he leaves, I'm like, yeah, I've been working. I'm just looking for somebody to talk to so I could get a little more guidance and so on and so forth. He says, you are? And he's like, let me call my friend Reggie. I think his name is Reggie. And he calls this man. This man happens to be the brother that was making Steve Harvey suits. And I just spoke to him today. And we talked for an hour, and he understands exactly where I'm at, exactly where I need to be. I think I just found one of my best mentors today. And it was just amazing. And I have other people that have definitely helped me along the way. But when you start to, and I don't want to say it in the wrong way, when you start to get past their knowledge, you start looking for somebody else that can help you in the next step.
Well, that's what it's about. It's about growing, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to chime in? You might as well chime in. What do you, all that we're talking about, what do you think about what we're talking about?
Yeah, Jay's on a journey right now where he's really pursuing what he wants. And I really think being next to me, and not just like I know anything, I just took risk and tried things. And I'm like a little kid. I'll go try something that we weren't supposed to try. And as soon as it works, I run back to Jay. Jay, it worked. He's like, what? I did it? I know you told me not to, but it works. And we share the information and we run.
That's
Okay.
true.
Yeah. And they're like, you did what? I did this. I know, but it worked. So you need to go do this now. And like right now, he's teaching me patience, because the way he develops his brand is very like a supreme high-end brand. Me, I rush a lot. So I'm learning from him to slow down. And this man is doing his thing.
So what do you mean by, give me the difference of how your perception of what you do and explain what his perception of what he does to my audience.
What I do, I just make whatever I want. I'll wake up that day, I'll make it, and I'll get it out the door. I'll try to sell it. But Jay, he's more on the planning side. I say he's a designer, but more than a designer, he's a businessman, because he's taking the business approach to this, which is well needed. I didn't take the business approach. I took the artist approach. So now I'm trying to catch up on the business end. But if you come in on the business end, I think everything else for him is going to flow so easily because he's handling the business.
So he's got you. So you both are working together. So remarkably, you have the opportunity to work together.
Almost definitely.
And because you have the opportunity to work together, that's helping each one of you.
Most definitely.
And would you also say that I'm asking both of you, there's a lot of young people out there that have vision and dreams and hopes. What would you tell them?
All right.
That's a good question.
Stay
And
consistent, man.
all right.
Very true.
Now, what did you say?
Stay consistent.
Stay consistent. Now, why do you say stay consistent, sir?
I'll tell you what, man. I've been through a lot of trial and error, trials and tribulations, and like, you know, if you have, you can be going strong for like a few months, right? Yeah, and you might run over a stumbling block. It might slow you down a little bit, but you still got that plan in the back of your mind. You still think about it. You still write stuff down. You know what I mean? And as you go on, you get better. You get better at what you were doing. When the stumbling block you came out of, you get a lot stronger. Learned a lot of lessons. I would never say you take an L, because you don't. You learn lessons from the experience behind what you went through. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you might take a few back and definitely a whole lot forward versus on where you came from, you know what I mean? And you just gotta keep going, because the more you keep going, the more doors are open. And I always say, man, like, you gotta seize the moment, and seize the moment. Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue.
He's not lying.
That's
if he
my
didn't
motto,
get me
man.
up this morning.
And every time, I'm gonna be honest, every time it's like, my patience are slim to none, but it'd be hard. Like, I used to like bottle a lot of stuff in. That's why I don't talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I like read the room before I say anything. You know what I mean? And but most of all, man, it's like Nipsey, man. Nipsey said it best, you know. It's not about, Nipsey said it best. He said, you know, you go outside and get influence. But before you went outside, you already know what you was gonna do. But you go outside and get influenced and knocked off your swivel a little bit, you can't do that. You gotta stay 10 toes down on what you want to do and create your own wave, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think what you said was important, but I want to iterate on what you said, because you said something about sometimes you take the L, but you don't look at it to be a loss. Yeah. You take the L to learn, develop, to make sure that it becomes beneficial to you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because in that very moment, like, dang, that really hurt. Like, you really had that really hurt for her. Like, that was like a wound.
Mm-hmm.
That got to heal a little bit. You know what I mean? And then once it gets around to that scab, you like, man, all right, well, now I'm at a clean slate again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now I know exactly what to do when it comes to that
situation.
When that situation come on again. You know what I mean? You know how to like maneuver with it. You know what I mean? You always got two options. You can go the right path, or you go down the other path.
And I'm glad that you're on my program and that you're sharing that, because sometimes we need to get a vision of how young people perceive things.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, and I'm guilty of it as well. Sometimes I form my opinion based on my older age. And then I've talked to some younger people, and sometimes, matter of fact, I had someone on my show one time, and they said it to me. They said, you know, one of the problems with older people, sometimes you talk to us, you tell us, but you don't listen. And I've learned from that. We can learn a lot. And that's why I have you on here, so somebody can understand that. Because sometimes people get that L, they get so frustrated, and like you said, you can go left or right, and they end up doing some crazy things.
Haywire.
And haywire. And sometimes you learn and you develop off your craft. I'm a big believer life has peaks and valleys. And I don't care who you are, you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. I don't care who you are. But the key is you want to have more, peaks than valleys, but you have to also think about it. And so that's why I have you on here, so that you can tell people what you're going through. See, people have the tendency to think success just comes. They do. They
That's
don't.
why they end up heartbroken.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna front. If somebody had told me how hard this was gonna be before I got started, I don't know if I'd have walked down that road.
I mean, you're being honest, and there's nothing. But you know what? There's nothing. But you see, there's nothing wrong with that. See, some of us have to be creative. Some of us have to have vision.
Yeah.
If we don't have vision, where would we be? See, we can, at this point, and this is what I believe, we are a lot of consumers, but we need to be visionary and developing. So I'm going to go to you. And what would you tell the audience if I asked you, if I wanted you to leave them with something, what would you leave them with?
The first thing that comes to mind, I always like I'm a straight shooter. When this gift is given to you, it comes from God. You can't ask man for confirmation of what God told you. That was my biggest mistake. And it's been family sometimes and other people over the past years that told me what I was barking up was wrong. I need to go do this. I need to go do that. I should be doing this. That's their vision and that's their survival technique. So a lot of people will give you their survival technique and tell you to do it because they fear for you not having, and that's the way they survive. If God spoke to you, don't let man tell you otherwise. You can't. I mean, I don't like saying the word haters and naysayers, but
we have
if
those.
I listened to those people, I would not be here in front of you. There was times some people would say things to me and like give me ultimatums because the way I was moving, and I had to take that and like, all right, I know what's going on, and people didn't talk to me for months and years sometimes. And when they come back around, I ain't angry. You just couldn't see what I seen. You couldn't see what God put in my life. And when it works out, they don't come by angry. They come back happy, like, whoo, glad that worked out. I was worried for you. So you were worried. You weren't really angry. You weren't really upset with me. You were just worried about me. But you have to listen to God, man.
But don't you, and I understand what you're saying, but don't you think sometimes we need to have role models? We need to have somebody that's been semi-successful,
Yes.
so that we can think we can do it.
Most definitely. That's what enabled me. Like I told you, it was the art director that showed me. He's the first person that showed me you can make a living off of this and you don't have to be Ralph Lauren or somebody else. Like, you can develop your own brand. And the main issue I run into, and the main reason I work with my brothers and minorities, we don't really have OGs the way we had back in the day. Like, that would tell you to go home or don't do this or none of that. So many people are afraid of you taking their bag or something that they don't spread the word. They don't speak to us like that. So the main thing I do is when I reach back, I explain everything in detail. If I have an opportunity, I'm going to share it with you, and really look out for our brothers keepers. We sharpen iron together.
So what you're saying is, and you can both tell me if I'm right or wrong. What you're saying is that a lot of us are guilty of not sharing the knowledge that we had already developed and accumulated.
Yes. And I don't understand why sometimes.
You don't understand why. And you know what? And that's a very good thing. And one day we'll have to have a program on that, because that's a good point what he said. They basically said a lot of us have knowledge. But what's knowledge if we got it, if we don't go back and share it? Because I guess what you're saying in some reality is that if we've learned how to go that direction to get to point A, then it behooves us to tell you that, so that you don't go on the journey and you spend time going left when you should have went right.
Exactly.
And so at the end of it, we wasted time.
Facts. Agree.
Audience, what they're telling us is, and we all may be guilty, and I may be guilty of it as well, is what they're saying is that we need to learn to share. We need to tell what our experiences is. And we need to help mentor you along the way.
Most definitely. Because I'm going to turn around and mentor somebody else with the information you gave me.
So you're saying we need to reach back.
Very much so. And more, and I'm just going to say it, I think the older brothers, y'all got to reach back more than just a word of encouragement or coming to check on somebody one time. Like, our community is messed up. We need real reaching back. Like, the kids I was dealing with this, I didn't get too involved in their home life, but I took an interest in what they want to talk about. I let them know and see the way I operated. And I even have a few minority kids coming from Harrisburg University that come and learn. But I'm an open book. That's why I told you about the mental health today. How many brothers will walk in here and really tell you about a mental health bout that they had recently? They won't. But that information that I just shared today is going to take an angry brother that's just been maybe not the best, and he's going to look into it now and realize, wow, if Paris did it, he's running a successful company. He got his wife and his boys and his homies with him. Let me get myself checked so I can be my best self. I don't want to tell anybody that I have mental health breakdown, but I know what it could do of somebody knowing.
Of course, the clock is going fast, so what we're gonna bring your clothes back up again. Bring up your clothes, but as we bring up your clothes, we're gonna have you tell this audience what you want to leave us with in terms of a thought. So I'm gonna do it this way because he don't want to speak a lot. So I'm gonna give you the first 2 minutes. I'm gonna give you a minute to think about what you want to say. So you don't. Okay, that's good.
You said what I want them to learn.
Yeah. What do you want people to learn? Take from this, right? What do you
want them to learn? That I'm an upstanding, trying young gentleman. I'm not perfect, but I work very hard. I value the Black community. I value our queens. I value our kids. I value the friendship and the brothership and all of it. And I'm literally here to meet my purpose. I hope you all learn from me, come shop with me, support me, and I will do likewise. But I'm literally here just to live a blessed life, work hard, inspire people, and y'all ain't seen nothing yet. So I can't wait to see. I always think if people like what I'm doing now, wait till really things get in order. You're gonna love it. And I just really want to help back in a real way. I really want to help and just want to see our people happy and shine.
Okay, and of course you're at 25 North 4th Street, and your wife is at 109 North 2nd Street.
Correct, that is.
So I got both of those, so we need to support them. So what do you want to leave my audience with?
I will say one thing about business is very important. You always got to be honest. You know what I mean? And I would like, be honest. And most of all, man, things in black and white is like very important too. Because you always can leave off with a handshake, or, you can say something, what is it? A man's word is bond, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes that can break sometimes, you know what I mean? So if you want to be, right, proper, want something properly done, just be honest and always keep communication when it comes down to business. I feel like that's one of the most important things you can come across. You know what I mean? Because you can always use that relationship sometime down the line. If you don't use that relationship as of that moment, you know what I mean?
Well, we're running out of time here. I hope that all of you go down there and support them. Not only support them, but I can even tell you this: if you have somebody that you know that's interested in maybe being a designer, maybe learning how to be a tailor, you can go down there. Matter of fact, I saw a little sign up. You didn't think, he teaches sewing lessons. And he teaches sewing lessons for some people to learn how to sew. I laugh at that because when I was growing up, my father tried to get me to sew. I refused to do that. And when I went away to school, had I listened to him, I could have made a few dollars because I could have hemmed a few pants and maybe put a few buttons on. But since I didn't do that, it hurt me. But that's because I didn't see the vision, nor did I want to do that. But one of the things we're going to leave my audience with tonight, they said two things. They said your word is your bond. I tell people that all the time. When I give my word, it's important to me because that's all you really have. You don't have anything else but your word. And so hopefully tonight you learned a lot of things. We learned these two young guys over here, and they got their little posse just doing all kinds of things, positive things, because that's why I have this program. I have this program, Did You Know, so that we can tell our story, so we can define who we are. Because those little 2 minutes that you see on the news, or the little paragraph you see in the paper, is usually negative about us. And so I'm a big believer in this, and I'm going to leave you this. If we don't tell our story, then who else is going to tell it? Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you for joining the Richard Utley Show on The Voice 17104. We will be here on The Voice 17104 every first and third Tuesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Once again, thanks for viewing. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Richard Utley, and we welcome your questions and or comments.
We'll put you up here.
Be black.
My word too.